All right, let's get right into it. If you're in marketing, I'm sure you've seen the charts, you've heard the buzz. If you want AI to recommend you, you have to be on Reddit and Wikipedia. Well, today we're going to tear that idea apart and show you why that common wisdom is probably sending your brand down a very wrong and pretty risky path. I wanted to start with this quote from Gaetano Dinardi because honestly, it just cuts right to the chase. His message to all the brands out there frantically pivoting their entire strategy based on this hype is simple. It's direct. Just stop. And yeah, that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. Is pouring all your time and money into getting mentioned on these giant platforms not just a waste, but a huge strategic mistake? The source material we're digging into today argues a big, loud, resounding yes. Now, look, to be fair, the panic isn't coming out of thin air. We've all seen the data that's gone viral. These charts are a bunch of different studies, including a big one from SEMrush. They all show the same thing. These two giants are at the very top of the list for citations by LLMs. And this is what's causing what you could call executive FOMO, this fear of missing out that's pushing some really reactive, maybe not so great decisions. And this right here, this is the perfect picture of the problem. You see a chart like this, and the conclusion just seems so obvious, right? Be where the AI is looking. But this huge macro-level view, it's exactly what's creating a flawed strategy for so many brands. It's technically accurate, sure, but strategically, it's a trap. So how can that be? How can this data be both right and totally misleading? Well, in this first section, let's unpack exactly why this bird's eye view is actually a really bad map for navigating the world of AI recommendations. Okay, so this is the crucial point. You have to ask yourself, what kind of data are we even looking at here? Those viral charts are based on macro data. We're talking hundreds of thousands of random keywords about everything under the sun, pop culture, history, whatever. But for your business, what actually matters are the high-intent queries, the super specific, I'm ready to buy questions your potential customers are asking. And those are two completely different worlds. Alex Burkett just nails it with this quote. These sites aren't on top because they're the absolute best source for your specific product. Nope, they're on top because they are just unbelievably massive. Their topical footprint covers, like he says, 1 million different areas. Of course they're going to win on aggregate citations. They talk about literally everything. And I love this analogy from the source material. Saying you need a Reddit strategy just because it's the most cited domain, well, that's like saying a fancy, high-end steakhouse has to serve spaghetti carbonara just because it's a popular dish. It's a total mismatch of context and audience. Just because something is everywhere doesn't mean it's relevant to you. And think about this. Even in those rare cases where a Reddit thread does rank for a high-intent query, it's not because of some clever SEO trick you can just copy. It's the result of years, literally years, of real people having real conversations and reaching a genuine consensus. You can't fake that. You simply can't microwave that kind of authentic, historical brand sentiment. Okay, so that leads to the obvious next question, right? If you can't build that kind of authority organically, can you just fake it? Well, that brings us to section 2, the astroturfing trap, where we're going to look at the super high risks and seriously low rewards of trying. So you might be thinking, okay, I can't microwave it, but I can still engineer it. I'll just hire an agency, buy a bunch of upvotes, generate some comments, and manufacture that virality, right? Well, the data tells a very, very different story. Get this. According to the SEMrush data, up to 80% of the Reddit threads that AI models actually cite have fewer than 20 upvotes. Let that sink in for a second. The AI doesn't care about your flashy, one-day viral post. It's looking for something else entirely. And here's the kicker. The average age of a cited Reddit post is around 900 days. That's almost 2.5 years. LLMs aren't looking for yesterday's growth hack. They're surfacing deep, historical, established consensus from a long, long time ago. And this brings us to another fantastic analogy. Trying to just jam your product into a Reddit conversation isn't a strategy. It's like shouting through a bus window at people on the sidewalk. You've got zero control, you're probably just going to annoy them, and you're not really part of the conversation at all. And here is the absolute most critical, most misunderstood risk of all. When human moderators on Reddit see your spammy post and delete it, or they ban your fake accounts, those actions don't just disappear. The AI models, they ingest the entire fire hose of data, and that includes the deletions and the bans. So you're not just failing to get recommended, you are actively training the AI that your brand is spam, creating a permanent negative trust signal. It's a disaster. Okay, so if chasing Reddit and Wikipedia is a trap, where on earth should you be focusing your efforts? In Section 3, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you where AI actually looks when it comes to those high-intent purchase recommendations. So here's the thing. When you filter out all the noise and you look specifically at those bottom of the funnel, I'm about to buy something prompts, that whole Reddit and Wikipedia are everything narrative, it just collapses. It completely falls apart. The data tells a totally different story. So where does it look? It looks for authority in your specific field. We're talking about those niche industry blogs that everyone in your space reads. We're talking about specialized review sites like Capterra or G2. We're talking about the deep, expert-level content that lives on your own website and trusted publications that your peers respect. That's the ground truth for commercial intent. And this right here, this is the key strategic takeaway. You need to stop chasing this massive, broad topical geography. You don't need to be visible everywhere. You just need to be the undisputed authority, the king or queen of your specific digital neighborhood, the place your customers and the AI actually care about. All right, now for the most important part. We've busted the myth, now let's actually build the solution. Our final section is all about your winning playbook. And you know what? It's refreshingly simple. It really boils down to two pillars that you can actually control. First, publish deep, expert, human-written content on your own website. And second, do targeted outreach to get citations and mentions from those niche, authoritative sites we were just talking about. That's it. So what do I mean by deep-owned content? It means your key product pages, your solution pages, they need to explicitly answer these questions. Who is this for? How do they actually use it? What specific tiny little pain points does it solve? And what are its core benefits? This is the kind of depth the AI needs to truly understand your value and recommend you for those highly specific queries. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly summarizes the entire argument. AI engines don't create authority out of thin air. They reflect the authority that your brand has already built in the real world and in your digital neighborhood. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Forget the hacks, forget the hype, forget chasing Reddit. The real question you should be asking your team is this: are we doing the hard work to actually be recommendable in the first place? Because at the end of the day, that's what the AI is really looking for.